We are back with you live once again on another Johnny Torch live broadcast. The only way to spend your Saturday here with us on the Torch News Roundup. Live broadcast number 140 today. Number 140, just 10 away from the 150 mark. 126th Torch News Roundup. And I believe April is our anniversary. That'll be 2 years of the Torch News Roundup come April. So we have been delivering you the news in one form or another live on YouTube for many a season now. Didn't start off as a live show, but it's been live probably for about a year and a half now. All right, so welcome in once again. As I said, the only way to spend your Saturday here with us. It's a little bit later than usual, about 10 minutes to 8 right now, but had a lot of things to do today, and we are working hard on the issue number 6 of Bullets Bourbon, Private Eye, The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon. You can check that out in the link in the description below for my website, where you will find a 3-page free preview of the most current issue that is out right now, which is issue number 5, 1 bourbon, 1 scotch, and 1 Miller. We've got the cover up there on the icon in the middle of the screen there. You could see right there. And it involves the devious and diabolical duo of Carrot Top and Pencil Neck as they seek to enslave the nation. Not only this great land of ours, but also the world is their objective. And Bullets Bourbon is the only one, of course, to stand in their way. He, of course, Private Eye, but being pressed into service as a secret agent in this one adventure. And it's going on it's our second issue of this arc. We've got one more issue to go to complete the arc I'm working on now. So it should be done, I'm hoping, by May. And I'm hoping to get some convention appearances in pretty soon. I'll hope to have those available to release pretty soon. Maybe in a couple of weeks, I'll find out if I'm getting some of these gigs coming up in the spring when convention season opens up again. Okay, so also check the link in the description below for my Twitter page. You will find the poll of the week question. We have a poll up for this week. And let's see, it is the big question. We've had a little controversy going on about this Captain Marvel versus Shazam. So tapping into that for now, we're going to ask the question, which will earn more, Captain Marvel or Shazam, the formerly original Captain Marvel, and will either cross $1 billion. So the 4 options are Captain Marvel will earn the most and make over $1 billion, or the second option, Shazam will make the most and cross over $1 billion. And the last 2 options are Captain Marvel will make the most but not make $1 billion, or Shazam will make the most but not make $1 billion. Those are your 4 options. There's 5 days left in the poll, so you've got plenty of time to head over to my Twitter page and vote for who you think will be the biggest moneymaker in the spring. So far, we have in 4th place, Shazam will make the most, but not make over $1 billion with 15% of the vote. In 3rd place, with 23% of the vote, Captain Marvel, but no billion. In 2nd place, Shazam with $1 billion. People thinking that he's going to cross over the $1 billion mark with 29% of the vote. And in 1st place, with 33% of the vote, a slight lead for Captain Marvel, making over $1 billion. And of course, there's always every possibility that both films will make over $1 billion. So you could just factor in which one will you think make more than the other. Me, for my vote, I would probably say I think Shazam is going to surprise a lot of people. I think it's going to make over $1 billion. I don't think Captain Marvel is going to make $1 billion. I already put my bet down on between 600 and 700 million. I think that's where it's going to top off. Captain Marvel traditionally has never been a big name character that a lot of people know. Even when she was Ms. Marvel and in her heyday, they tried to kind of give her the, like I said, Wonder Woman of Marvel role, but I don't think she's that popular. I think that she's probably going to do Doctor Strange, Ant-Man numbers, which would probably be in the upper 600 million category. Shazam, of course, has got the appeal of being a kids movie. It's going to be a superhero movie that's going to draw the attention of all the comic book movie fans, but you also got parents going to want to take their kids to see Shazam. It's going to be, at least it promises to be, a much more fun and uplifting film than the Snyder DCEU films. So, you want to take your kids to see a Superman or Superman and Batman, they come out needing therapy. But this looks like it's going to be a fun kids movie. I wouldn't be surprised to see Shazam make $1 billion, and I think it will. I think it easily will surpass Captain Marvel. So that's what I'm saying. 48 votes so far. So we've got, a decent selection there, but I want to see some more votes here. So please get over to the Twitter page, vote in the poll of the week, and let me know what you think. Who is going to earn more this spring, Captain Marvel or Shazam? All right. Let's see. We'll begin the show in earnest now. We've got plenty of news to cover. And let's see. First off, the Eternals. We've got some news about Marvel's Eternals. Now, to be totally honest with you, I don't know a whole lot about the Eternals. I think this was kind of Jack Kirby's Marvel analog to his New Gods concept. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I really never followed the Eternals, so I'm not sure exactly. But apparently, from the information that we have gathered here from We Got It Covered, their source, that hashtag show, apparently they're looking to cast the first openly gay actor to lead the cast of the Eternals. And so, yet it begins. We have them, taking a page from the CW DC verse and trying to queer up the Marvel Cinematic Universe here by casting an openly gay actor. Now, needless to say, my take on this is, why does that matter? Now, we don't know for a fact that this, I guess, main character is going to be gay, but it's just going to cast an openly gay actor. It's another one of these things where it's a lot of people have fear of Captain Marvel ushering in the SJW era from Marvel Comics over to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And of course, as I'd said previously on my last video, get woke, go broke, which is what's happening now with the CW. And I can see the concern that a lot of people are having that we're going in that direction with the MCU. If it does, in fact, turn out to be the case, I'll be the first one to say this is probably where it begins. So let me read the copy here. Let's see what happens. With immortal characters and a plot that reportedly spans millennia, the movie will reveal some of the deep history of the universe and perhaps even lay the seeds for the arrival of mutants in the franchise. The project's currently in pre-production, and that hashtag show has a very interesting bit of casting information telling us that Marvel Studios wants the lead male role to go to an openly gay actor. It's well known that both Disney CEO Bob Iger and Marvel Studios head Kevin Feige are eager to increase representation in their movies, with the huge success of Black Panther having given them validation that they're on the right track. So again, it's one of these things where the movie has to fit the situation, to fit the demographic. They can't force gay characters into a franchise that doesn't support it. They're trying to sort of force a feminist agenda in Captain Marvel, which is what a lot of people are concerned about. But this, I think, would be, I think, a step too far in trying to force some agenda into a film that it apparently is not really built for. Because, as I said, I don't know enough about the Eternals, but I think it's like an old school Jack Kirby property that probably didn't deal a lot with, homosexuality. Okay, let's see. We know, to continue on with the copy, we know that the leads in the movie will be Eternal, Circe, and Icarus. So perhaps Icarus is the part they've got in mind. I also think it's safe to assume that if they're searching for an openly gay actor, then the character he plays will also be gay. We've seen numerous complaints about Hollywood casting straight actors as gay characters, so presumably they're planning to nip this criticism in the bud right away. If the Eternals, well, yeah, that pretty much goes without saying. That's what I said. I mean, you don't get a openly gay actor and tout the fact that you've got an openly gay actor if the character he's playing isn't gay. Then kind of what's the point? to, do this virtue signaling if you're not going to, you know, showcase the gay actor as a gay character. If the Eternals does prove to have a gay hero front and center, then expect your typical outpouring of frothing outrage from the internet. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't give me that garbage tier stuff. Okay. Take a look at the ball being tossed in the direction of Captain Marvel and the failed campaign to ruin Black Panther. I don't know about Black Panther. I don't think there was a conscious effort on anybody's part to try to ruin Black Panther. That was mostly from the fringe. But I do see that there is a lot of hate directed at Captain Marvel, and I think we've gone over this a lot of times. I think for the most part, it's because Brie Larson is a abrasive individual. And I really didn't want to get into the whole thing about Zachary Levi and his appeal to common sense and don't try to bash Captain Marvel for the basis of Shazam and so on and so forth. But I think it's just that Brie Larson's an abrasive individual. I think that she rubs a lot of people the wrong way with her SJW rhetoric and stuff like that. I think that's part of what the problem is with Chadwick Boseman. You didn't get the sense that it was an in your face. We don't want white people on the press tour. We don't want, it just seemed like that Brie Larson is like purposely being abrasive and sort of baiting, you know, people to, criticize her the way she's, bringing about this kind of dialogue. The other problem is that it seems to be very by the numbers looking by the trailer. I think a lot of people are throwing a lot of scorn at it because it just looks like the same female hero is trying to make it in a man's world. She keeps falling and has to rise up again. I mean, they're trying to force this kind of storyline into a 2019 movie and production. Um, they set this in the 90s, so I think they want us to sort of retroactively think back like in the 90s where things were more difficult for women. But to be honest, you can go back to like the late 60s, early 70s for this kind of female empowerment feminist thing. The Mary Tyler Moore throwing her hat up into the sky. You know what I mean? A lot has changed since then. And I don't think the people of today are going to be interested in trying to have a nostalgic look back at the struggles of women in the workplace in the 1990s and trying to get where they are in the armed forces and stuff. It feels like we progressed too much to be going back to that now. And like I said, the 90s is not really where you want to go if you want to tell that story, because when Ms. Marvel was created in the 70s, that was the impetus for it. And I can see not wanting to really change the background of the character, which is why as I've said many times, Miss Marvel has a strong feminist background. You can't really just wave your hand over it and it's going to go away. So that's going to be part and parcel of the movie in any case. But I think they would do well to not overemphasize this fact and try to treat this like it was still the 1970s and it's an episode of the Mary Tyler Moore Show or That Girl. You know what I mean? So I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Again, I was speaking of the Eternals. If it's going to start being just, an agenda filled, the MCU is just going to go this get woke way, then it is going to be on its way down. We'll have to see. I'm taking a wait and see approach for Captain Marvel. I think we felt a little of it in Black Panther. I think we felt a lot of it in Spider-Man Homecoming. So yeah, if this is where people are, putting their money where their mouth is and saying, look, I'm not going to see Captain Marvel because I don't like the direction that Disney's going with their Marvel franchise, then I applaud them. You want to make a stand here and now, then go ahead. I still think that there needs to be sort of a benefit of the doubt given to Feige at this point. I'm going to wait and see how Captain Marvel is before I get too frantic about the direction of the MCU, but it is sort of in precarious placement right now. It's in a precarious situation. All right, so let's move on. Again, I think I've got the chat room open, so if you got anything to say, please, by all means, let me know how you feel about the subject of the Eternals, Captain Marvel, Shazam, and Also, let me know in the comments below if you are listening to this after the fact. We're here usually every Saturday night, afternoon, and we bring you all the news in pop culture. Okay, so next up here, we got the story about the New Mutants. Now, apparently, New Mutants was also, along with Dark Phoenix, the last X-Men properties to be worked on by Fox before the sale to Marvel, to Disney. And, we're going to get to Dark Phoenix in a few minutes, and that has its own production woes and so on and so forth. But New Mutants was also slated for rewrites and some more additional shooting. Eventually, what happened was the film went from apparently going to be rated R to PG-13 to sort of fit more under the Disney umbrella. And so that was part of the reason why some of the reshoots were to be taken place. But apparently, they didn't make those reshoots yet. I don't know. They didn't take those reshoots. And we're getting pretty close to this film either going to have to be scrapped or they're going to have to get to it. All right, so let's take a look at the copy here. The Hollywood Reporter, let's see, shared a small but interesting update regarding the 20th Century Fox New Mutants. While the film is currently slated to open this August, it's not expected to be ready for release as it still has a number of reshoots to complete. These reshoots, which we've heard plenty about, were initially expected to happen sometime last summer in order to add more horror elements. Yeah, because this is supposed to be like a horror take in the X-Men genre. I'm not a big horror fan. I don't know if I would see this, but I guess I don't know if it's going to tie in more with the X-Men franchises. I might have, but this is sort of the death knell of the X-Men at Fox. The film is still firmly in the hands of director Josh Boone. As to whether the X-Men spinoff will actually see the light of day, the Hollywood Reporter believes it will, but it's now looking increasingly likely that New Mutants may not receive a traditional theatrical release and could actually be one of the first movie titles to debut on Disney Plus, the streaming service within the House of Mouse. The acquisition of 20th Century Fox is expected to happen within the next 2 weeks. Okay. Well, let's see. Dark Phoenix, is not the final X-Men movie. Josh Boone's New Mutants dated for August 2nd. So it's supposed to come out August 2nd. So, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think this film will ever see the light of day? Do you think that this film is going to come out on Disney Plus? Do you think this film is going to just get the theatrical release that it's supposed to get in August? I don't know. Like I said, I'm not really overly enthused for this film, so I don't suppose I care really at this point. If it just comes out in Disney Plus, maybe they'll make that worth their while. But let me know what you think in the comments below about New Mutants and how excited or unexcited are you to see it. Okay, we got some more news now about Ghostbusters 3. We're calling it Ghostbusters 3 because, technically we don't know what it's going to be called yet, but apparently this is going to be a direct sequel to the beloved 1984 movie and the sequel in 1989, the franchise Ghostbusters, with the surviving cast members expected to play some kind of part in the film. Now, Variety is reporting that Carrie Coon from Avengers Infinity War. Avengers Infinity War? Let me take a look at this chick. Let me see. I don't recognize her. Oh, is she the one that played the voice of like well, I was going to say Kree, but whatever that chick was, the alien chick that was taking on Scarlet Witch and Black Widow. That looks like it could be her. I'm not sure. Carrie Coon from Avengers Infinity War and Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things are now in talks to join Sony's upcoming Ghostbusters sequel, which has Jason Reitman attached as director. Plot details are being kept under wraps, but the film is said to follow a younger cast of ghost-busting heroes as they battle a new paranormal threat to the world. Single mom and her family will be the center of the story, with Coon portraying the mother while Wolfhard plays her eldest son. The latest report notes that Reitman wasn't keen on casting any of the Stranger Things kids due to the similar subject matters between properties, but Wolfhard's addition absolutely blew him and top executives away, so they decided not to pass up on the opportunity to work with the up-and-comer. Reitman also co-wrote the script alongside Gil Keenan. Production is expected to begin this summer with a July 10th, 2020 release date in mind. So yeah, I never got on this whole bandwagon of Stranger Things because, well, frankly, I don't have Netflix. I think it's supposed to be like an 80s, homage, which, that's right up my alley, right? I mean, I love the 80s. But yeah, I don't know. I'm still kind of dubious as to whether this is the thing to do to have kids this young being the Ghostbusters and the potential next generation of Ghostbusters. I don't know. I kind of Since this is going to be a direct sequel, I kind of want to know what happened to the rest of the characters. You know what I mean? It's like whatever happened to Oscar, whatever happened to Dana, obviously whatever happened to Venkman and Ray and Winston. But, now we're introducing a whole new family that's like, it seems like it's going to be outside the established characters, and we're going to sort of just have, I think we're going to wind up with just having the cameos of, but yeah, I don't know, maybe you probably could get, I'm guessing you could get Aykroyd and Hudson, to do something substantial to film, but as far as the others are concerned, Bill Murray, of course, has always been a stumbling block for the production. And I don't know, Sigourney Weaver might make a cameo. I'm not sure, but what do you think? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you excited about this Ghostbusters 3, this potential continuing of the franchise? Like I said, I'm not sure about using such young kids as Ghostbusters because, it seems like kind of a mature thing to do to be wearing a proton pack and stuff like that with that kind of equipment with a Ghostbusters, the Ectomobile itself was in the teaser trailer. So one would think that plays a part in it. But hey, it worked for one of my favorite movies of all time, School of Rock, which was about kids doing basically what, adults were probably better suited to do. They were actually just as well suited to do. So we'll see. All right, let's carry on with. I got these notes all over the place, so I probably should just keep everything together and do all the DCEU talk when we talk about the DCEU, but no, we're going to jump all over the place. All right, so the next story I got here on my agenda, if I can find the image. Yeah, there it is. All right, we got some more information about Ezra Miller's The Flash. A lot of stuff has gone on about this. I always enjoyed doing the Torch News Roundup, where we went over the entire history of this project to the tune of Yaki Sax, which was the Benny Hill uh, theme song with the saxophone. That was a lot of fun. You should try to find that video and play it. I'm sure you get a kick out of it. But we've got yet another additional update in the long, tired saga of Ezra Miller's The Flash film. Ezra Miller recently revealed that the Flash movie will feature a speedster multiverse, and he was presumably referring to yet another version of the screenplay that has been worked on by Warner Brothers for what feels like an eternity. Yes. Now, so a multiverse. So, apparently now in this incarnation of the Flash, we're going to have probably Jay Garrick. I don't know. I'm not really up on all the speedsters in the Flash's universe. I'm getting to know them a bit at a time through the Flash television show, but I know Jay Garrick. I know, obviously, Wally West and just a bunch of other speedsters that were in the Golden through Bronze Age. And just for a brief reminder, originally Seth Grahame-Smith was on board to write and direct the project, but he parted ways with the studio over creative differences. Rick Famuyiwa replaced him, only to later leave for the same reason. The latest draft of the script, which has undergone numerous rewrites, was penned by the King Arthur scribe Joby Harold. Current directors John Francis Daly and Jonathan Goldstein, who helmed Game Night and wrote Spider-Man Homecoming, are doing yet another rewrite. No details have been revealed beyond that, but it would be fascinating to find out how this movie has gone from origin story to adaptation of Flashpoint and now something completely different. So, do you have any hopes that this movie's ever going to get made? Do you really want to see an Ezra Miller Flash? I still think that the kid could probably play an entertaining Barry Allen slash Flash if given the right opportunity, given the right script, maybe tone down his goofiness a little bit from Justice League. But I'm still on board for a Flash movie. I mean, I love the TV show. It's honestly one of the better TV shows on the CW, that they haven't really completely contaminated it and tanked it with SJW nonsense. But and if you haven't already, I'm going to once again remind you to check out my most recent video, a special video I did on Monday of this week, where we talked about basically the tanking of the CW DCEU franchise, and how, for some reason, sadly, they didn't take the hint and they just flooded more and more SJW garbage into those shows until now they're on the chopping block, in danger of cancellation, serious danger of cancellation due to low ratings. And the video is titled "The Dim Future of the Arrowverse: Get Woke, Get Cancelled." So check that out. And like I said, try to support the campaign. Supergirl, please punch a big robot. It's just a funny little hashtag that I put together to try to get some support for, de-SJWizing the CW DCEU, or the CW Arrowverse, I guess as it's called. Try to see if we can salvage the show, all these shows, because quite sadly, they've cast a lot of great actors playing these characters, and they've given us some pretty decent storylines. But in recent years, I think the last 2 years, it's pretty much gone downhill. All the shows have suffered to one extent or other, and the ratings are abysmal as a reflection of that. So check out that video, the dim history of the Arrowverse. Get woke, get canceled. All right, let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm really anxious and eager to hear how you feel about the Flash and the Arrowverse in general in that video. Okay, now we're talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 situation. According to Collider, Kevin Feige revealed that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is still very much on hold, and suggested that there's been very little movement at all on the movie as the studio's been focusing on other projects. He was quoted as saying, "I mean, when it was pushed back, it was pushed back, meaning the release date, because it's not coming out, although we've never announced a release date actually, but it was going to happen sooner rather than later, initially, of course." Boy, that is difficult to read. I mean, I imagine that's the way he said it, which means he really doesn't have a clue what he's talking about. To continue, the quote, "Outside of knowing that we're going to use James Gunn's draft, we have been focusing on other projects." Okay, I told you what was going to happen before with this. I'm still very firmly believing that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 will happen when all is made up with James Gunn. They kiss and make up. James Gunn will come back. Batista won't cause a big uproar and throw a tantrum. And this gives them a little bit of a breather to sort of let Gunn make his Suicide Squad 2 movie, let Warner Brothers take the heat for any residual resentment against Gunn for his, quite honestly, creepy tweets about, jokes and so on, and we all heard it. But he'll be back. He'll be back, and they'll grab him to do Guardians 3. That's what I think is going to happen. But they're going to have to wait a few years to let the residuals wear away of the creepy factor, and then we'll see how he does with Suicide Squad 2. That's when he'll be back. That's my prediction. And of course, let me know what you think. What do you think the situation is on Guardians 3? Do you mind waiting for Gunn to come back? Do you want to just do it without Gunn's involvement at all? Do you want them to use Gunn's script? I don't know. It's interesting. Will it feel unlike Guardians of the Galaxy without Gunn's script? I don't think so, because they did a pretty good job with them in Infinity War. All right, we're going to take a look at Rambo Last Blood. It all comes full circle. Began with First Blood in 1982, and it's going to end with Last Blood in 2019. Sylvester Stallone of course, playing the character of John Rambo for the fifth and apparently final time. And he just kissed goodbye to Rocky Balboa. Apparently, yet again, things change in the movie world. And, if there is a Creed 3, I wouldn't be surprised to see Balboa and Stallone back in the role. But this probably will be the last film for Rambo, because there's only so much you can do with Stallone, getting into like his 70s, and he can't be running around with machine guns and bows and arrows apparently much longer. So I imagine this will be the last one. And we have a release date now for Last Blood, September 20th. According to the official logline for Rambo Last Blood, the movie will pick up after the events of the last film, which had Rambo returning to the States after spending, what, like 30 years running around from Thailand to, I don't know, Pago Pago, whatever, and living peacefully in Arizona. I think he moved in back with his father, although maybe he might not still be alive at this point. However, following the kidnapping of his friend's daughter by a violent cartel, he'll take up arms for one last fight. Was Gina Rodriguez going to be in the? No, because she's in a movie that's supposed to be about that, about getting kidnapped by the Mexican cartels or something, and I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. Aside from seeing Stallone return to play the iconic character, the Adrian Goldberg helmed film. Yo, Adrian! Wow, you got two of them right there. Adrian Goldberg. Adrian, Rocky's wife. Goldberg. Wasn't it Mickey Goldberg? Oh, no, it was Mickey Goldmill. Yeah, it was Goldmill. We were so close. We were so close to having a Rocky tie-in with the director. But Goldberg, if he changed his name to Goldmill, we would have had it on point. All right, so Adrian Goldberg helmed film also stars Paz Vega, Sergio Perez Menchita, and Yvette Monreal. Keeping it Monreal. So, I don't know if you can pick that up. I'm playing with a keychain in my hand. That's what that sound is. Let me know if you hear that. I don't know if my microphone is sensitive enough. Okay, so yeah, let me know. You excited about Rambo 5? Like I said, I didn't like Rambo 4. It was too violent for me. They just like upped the violence way too much for my taste. First Blood, of course, classic. Rambo First Blood Part 2, my favorite of the franchise. Just like the poster boy for 80s action adventure movies. I mean, for that like all-out action movie, yeah, Rambo. That's the one you want to watch. Rambo Part 2. Rambo 3, long, boring, but had its moments, good set pieces. You know, they gave Troutman a little more to do because, you got to love Richard Crenna. And yeah, 4 didn't like. So I don't know. Let's see how 5 turns out. Let me know what you think in the comments below about Rambo Last Blood. They drew last blood, sir. All right, let's take a look now at some little information here about the Batman. Seems like we have some information about this every week, and it's basically still couched in rumor and hearsay. And we heard a friend from a friend, heard it from a friend who, heard it from a friend who, heard who's the villain in the Batman. Forbes' Mark Hughes has now doubled down on tweeting that the Batman is peppered with multiple villains, not just one or two. I know about 3 of them for sure, plus there are others filling in Gotham's population in cameos supporting roles. It's been widely reported that the Penguin will be making an appearance, and Batman on Film, remember them? Yeah. Lends some weight to this by claiming that there are at least 4 bad guys in the movie. At least 4 bad guys in the movie. So let's take a look at this grid here. Who do you want to see come back as villains for Batman? Because some of them are, some of them have already been in the movies, so they might be using the same guys twice. I would say Two-Face, but you got to give him an origin. I don't think you can just plug Two-Face into a Batman movie, which sounds like what they're doing. Penguin, you can always use him. I think that would be cool. Riddler, I think that's cool. Um, Joker, but Joker, they're probably not going to use the Joker after the whole Jared Leto thing. And I would rather see Joker like surface in a Harley Quinn. I think he really needs to be in Birds of Prey, just in some small capacity. All right, so we got Penguin and Riddler. I think should be in the movie. Ra's al Ghul, nah, pass. Scarecrow, mm, I don't know. We'll tentatively make him the third villain. Um, Mr. Freeze, I think you need to do a whole movie with Mr. Freeze. I don't think you can have him be just like a fourth wheel. He has to have his own movie, so no. Bane, mm, I can see him being the muscle for somebody. So again, we'll put him on tentatively. Um, Poison Ivy, yeah, Poison Ivy. Talia, no, you got to do Talia with Ra's al Ghul. You can't just put her in a movie by herself. We already did that, and it really didn't work out. Deadshot. I don't know who some of these other characters are. Obviously, Harley Quinn is not going to be. But yeah, that's what I'm going for. I would say Penguin, Riddler, Poison Ivy, Scarecrow. Unless, of course, you want to hold off on Scarecrow and put Bane in that spot. Because you got to remember, Scarecrow, I don't think has ever been given. He was in Batman Begins. He was given a good role in that. I think they really played him up good. But maybe we save him for like a bigger role because if this is just going to be like the balance of four different villains, that means he gets one scene basically. And maybe he deserves more than that because Batman Begins, he basically only had like what, two scenes? He had like the scene, well, maybe three. I don't know. They were so brief, those scenes, though. I don't know if I would, Then, of course, he was in Dark Knight. Yeah, Dark Knight. He was in Dark Knight Rises too, but that was even more pitiful. Dark Knight, that was actually a pretty good cameo. That's a great use of a smaller tier villain in a superhero movie. That's what a lot of us would like to see done, but it isn't done very well. Like for instance, it was done well in The Dark Knight, but when else has it ever worked? I mean, The Shocker in Homecoming was horrible. That was horrible. Um, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, they tried to stick some Rhino in there. Wasn't too bad. It was just a terrible costume. They put him in the mecha Rhino suit or something for 2 seconds. That really wasn't. I don't know if I'd call it an abject failure, but it really wasn't a victory. Anyhow, let me know what you think in the comments below. Who are you looking forward to seeing in the Batman, in Batman's Rogues Gallery? And give me some casting choices if you want. That would be cool. Let me know who you would cast as the up-and-coming Batman villains. Okay, next up, Aquaman 2. Aquaman 2 has finally got a release date. Some Aquaman news. Yeah, I'm excited about this. I want to see Aquaman 2 as soon as possible. What did they do? They set the date for December 16th, 2022. 2022. That's like 3 years away. I mean, well, it's 4 years away because yeah, it's at the end of 2022. We're not talking about like a March. Why do you do this for? Why do you do a film 4 years away that made you over $1 billion? I don't understand it. The same thing kind of happened with Harley Quinn in Suicide Squad. It was a financial success. It wasn't everybody's cup of tea, but they waited to give Harley Quinn another movie for 4 years. Next year it'll be 4 years when we finally get to see Margot Robbie don the candy flavored hairdo and tattoos, whatever. But now we're going to wait for the tide to roll in for Aquaman and Mera for 4 years. 3 years before they just, get things shot. You know what I mean? It's like, or maybe 2 years. Maybe they film it. They're going to need a long lead-in date for the underwater FX. We'll see. But anyhow, so yeah, let's see. Aquaman was officially in development with co-writer David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick on board to pen the script, and now Warner Brothers has set a release date for the King of Atlantis' next solo outing, December 16th, 2022. Still no word on whether James Wan will be returning to the director's chair. Oh, come on. He made $1 billion for them. They're going to get him back. But he's expected to produce alongside Peter Safran. Aquaman surprised pretty much everyone by not only grossing 1.1 billion worldwide, but becoming the studio's second most profitable title of all time. Most recently, it was revealed that the underwater adventure passed the unadjusted total of Shane Black's Iron Man 3 to become the highest grossing solo superhero movie of all time internationally. So that's pretty excited. I'm happy for Aquaman. I'm happy that the dude got his just reward. You know what I mean? It's like you do good, but you do right by the character, you do good, you get rewarded. You see the difference between get woke, go broke, and do good, get rewarded? That's the way it goes. And Warner Brothers, I think, has cracked the code. I think they're really on board. We're going to talk about the DCEU in a minute. But I think they're really on board now with trying to give fans what they want. They're not going to just hide behind directors and, Zack Snyder. We got to let him do what he wants to do because he's a great director. And we're going to make, whatever the guy's name, what was his name? Dick Ayer. We're going to make him do Suicide Squad with the Joker with all the tats and stuff because he's a great director and he's going to do what he wants to do. No, we're going to get accurate costumes, accurate casting, accurate film scenarios, based on the comics. This is what we want. This is what we're going to get from Warner Brothers. Now, the jury's out on what Marvel's going to do. We're kind of a little concerned about them right now, as we talked about earlier in the show. But Warner Brothers is on pace to surpass Marvel, I think, in the coming years. I think it's very possible. All right, let's talk about the future of the DCEU. We'll leave these glorious figures, these glorious specimens of masculinity and femininity for your perusal, whichever side you care to look on. That's up to you. But the future of the DCEU, as let's see, I'm just trying to scan it to find out the guy's name. What's his name? Kevin Tujahara. That's how you pronounce his name. Again, I lost a lot of the the quote here, but anyway, Kevin Tujahara is in charge of the DCEU Warner Brothers Productions, and he had a little interview here, and let's just quote him as follows. The upcoming slate with Shazam, Joker, Wonder Woman 1984, and Birds of Prey feels like we're on the right track, he explains. We have the right people and the right jobs working on it. The universe isn't as connected as we thought it was going to be 5 years ago. You're seeing much more focus on individual experiences around individual characters. That's not to say we won't at some point come back to the notion of a more connected universe, but it feels like that's the right strategy for us right now. So again, they're distancing themselves from the connected universe. I think they realize now that Marvel had their success with the connected universe because they didn't jump the gun, because Warner Brothers didn't want to have the patience. They just wanted to jump right into it. They wanted to say, okay, we've got, all these great characters. We don't want to wait, 8 years to set them up. We don't want to do Batman movie, Superman movie, Aquaman movie, Wonder Woman movie, Flash movie, Cyborg movie, and then do Justice League. They wanted to do Batman movie, Superman movie, Justice League. And that really probably wasn't the best way to do it. But I like the thought that they will come back to doing a full-fledged, Justice League movie or team-up movie in the future. Let's see, to continue on here with a quote, what Patty Jenkins did on Wonder Woman illustrated to us what you could do with these characters who are not Batman and Superman. Obviously, we want to get those two in the right place, and we want strong movies around Batman and Superman. But Aquaman is a perfect example of what we can do. They're each unique, and the tone's different in each movie. So yeah, at least also we know now that they haven't given up on Batman and Superman. We kind of know that they're still working on Batman. Superman is the question mark at this point, but it's all going to have to do. It's all going to have to do with if they can, land a satisfactory contract with Henry Cavill. So, before we get through with our DCEU update here, let's take a look at Suicide Squad 2. Some information coming out about that. Revolving around one Will Smith, who we didn't talk about this because there's nothing for us to talk about really. I mean, I'm against them making live action versions of the Disney movies to begin with because they can't help but be pale imitations of masterpieces. You don't try to recreate a masterpiece. That's why reboots are so pitiful. I mean, if you got a bad movie and you want to reboot it and think that maybe you can do something better with it this time, we're going to talk about Dark Phoenix coincidentally in a few minutes. But I don't know. Why would you try to remake Aladdin? It's a masterpiece. Robin Williams. How do you replace Robin Williams, even with the greatest of actors? Will Smith is not the greatest comedian. I mean, he's an all right guy. I mean, he's decent actor, decent comedian, decent musician, singer. But he doesn't have that X quality that like Robin Williams had to make that character. And of course, a lot of people are saying that it just outright looks bad. But I mean, did you want him not to be blue? I mean, the character of the genie was blue and pudgy, and they made Will Smith blue and pudgy. I mean, So I mean, in a sense, I don't know what you were expecting when you cast Will Smith as the genie, and then you try to make Will Smith look like the genie. I mean, they kind of accomplished that, but having said that, it was wrong to cast Will Smith as the genie in the first place. You don't cast anybody in this role. You do, Robin Williams, and unfortunately Robin Williams isn't here, or you just don't make the movie. You know what I mean? It's like, were Robin Williams alive and they said, Robin, do you want to, we'll put your face on an animated blue genie body, and yeah, all right, maybe I'd go see that, but you don't like try to replace Robin Williams with anybody. Anyway, we're getting off the beaten path. We're going to talk about Will Smith is reportedly out of Suicide Squad 2, which I guess is only being called The Suicide Squad. I don't really know how you do that. Isn't that going to get confused with Suicide Squad? I hate when they do that. It's like, I mean, Alien and Aliens, at least that makes a little more sense. It's like singular and plural, just like 1 and 2. But if you're going to do two movies with almost the same name, it doesn't make much sense unless it's a completely different continuity. I mean, like for instance, Batman 89. We call it 89. It's just Batman. But it's a completely different continuity from Batman 66. So Batman 66, we don't call it, something different. We just call it Batman 66. We call it Batman 89. And if it's a completely different continuity, you can do that. But if it's the same continuity when you're doing the Suicide Squad and Suicide Squad came out 4 years before, it don't make no sense. All right, so let's get to the story. It's getting more attention than it really deserves. Will Smith will not reprise his role as Floyd Lawton, aka Deadshot, in James Gunn's upcoming reboot/sequel, The Suicide Squad, due to a scheduling conflict. That's one of those things where I bet he just didn't want to do it, or maybe even possibly James Gunn didn't want him in his script, and he just sort of noped out. The report notes that it was an amicable breakup between Smith and the studio and that there are believed to be no hard feelings between the two parties. The Suicide Squad is currently slated to open on August 6th, 2021, and is expected to start shooting in fall of this year. So, are you excited about the Suicide Squad? Are you disappointed that Deadshot is not going to be involved? Apparently, you know, it depends on what kind of story they're going to tell. I guess, because Floyd Lawton wasn't really a villain in that. I mean, he was a screw up more than he was a villain. I don't know if taking him out was really the worst thing you could do. All right, and before we get to our final story of the day, we have some images from DCEU's Birds of Prey. Yes, Birds of Prey. Let's see. This is a scene shot. I've been having fun watching some of these on-set leaked shots. There's some shots of apparently Harley Quinn, played by Margot Robbie. I guess this is not a stunt double. entering and exiting a tanker truck. This is her entering, and this is apparently her exiting. Let's see. Jumping out. Not sure this scene unfolds. They've got a crane there. I don't know. And then the on-set photos were basically just her sort of taking like glamour shots in front of a different colored background. Here we've got, I don't know, some kind of lime green, or no, more like a sky blue, I guess. And that is obviously Margot Robbie. And let's see. This is sort of a little lemon yellow. And I'm guessing this is probably to facilitate a montage later on while she's walking through this stuff. A lot of people are concerned that they're going to go too Deadpool on Harley, making her look way too Deadpool in this. But there she is with like a pink background, lavender background. So yeah, that's what we got. I don't know how that's going to be reflected in the movie, but don't say I didn't do anything for you. Okay, so before we wrap it up, closing in on our hour time here, we're probably going to go over like we usually do. Let's take a look at some screenshots from the trailer of the Dark Phoenix. I'll give you a couple of my my thoughts on the trailer. We still see here is Jean, Sophie Turner, Jean Grey, and Jessica Chastain, whom we still don't really know who she's playing. She's been described as an alien. A lot of people are are hopeful that she's playing Lilandra, which doesn't really make any sense because she seems to be goading Jean to use her Phoenix powers and destroy and become a god and all that kind of bombastic stuff. I still believe that this is the Phoenix. This is the Phoenix Force made manifest and personified as a woman to sort of converse with Jean. I think that's the take they're doing on it, and it's probably the best thing they could have done. I don't know if I'm gonna like that though. I don't know if I'm gonna like that character because they're trying to play up the duality, I think, of the dual nature there that Jean is going through with the Phoenix. And in the original movie, The Last Stand, they didn't really do that. They just had it as she was going through psychotic episodes. And in this case, it might be a little bit more palatable if we're shown that she actually has like a malignant entity in her brain that's basically driving her to do these things. And we hear some of that. Like I said, it's touch and go if it's going to work. I don't know if it's going to work or not. But we get some context now for the scene that we've seen like several times in different media of Jean crying in the rain, where she says, "Why did you make me do that?" Which was, it looked sad to begin with, but it feels even more pitiful now. That's the thing that is such a draw about the Dark Phoenix, the storyline, the original storyline, and I think the animated series did it so well. But it's the sense of what do you do when a member of your family is taken over by something they can't control. It's you could use the metaphor in so many different ways. If it's an addiction, if it's a personality disorder, if it's whatever it is, it's something that puts you in odds with the one you love. And you have to face the fact that the one you love is either going to become an enemy or you're going to try to, you know, reach that individual. And that's kind of what the heart of the matter is of the story, it looks like, where it's going to be they're going to try to reach Jean, and it's going to be, heartbreaking if they can't, because the only other option is that they destroy her. And okay, let's take some more shots here. I'm not doing them particularly in order because it's just too much trouble because I picked a lot of images, so we'll just go through them. This is obviously the Phoenix when it first is manifest, I think, when she's in the space shuttle and this burst of energy comes around her, and I think she's imbued with the powers of the Phoenix. This is one of the things that kind of bothered me about X2 is the same thing they did with Apocalypse, where it's tough to set up the Dark Phoenix. It's like they want to show her using her powers for good originally. So they did that in X2. And then it's like then she gets like a completely different, problem with these powers, but you keep saying to yourself, didn't she already have these powers and why didn't they look like this originally? It's like, it seems like it's a completely different can of worms. You know what I mean? It's like she starts off with the powers of A, and then it turns into be she has the powers of C, and C also brings with it like a mental problem of D. You know what I mean? It's kind of interesting the way it works out. It isn't just something that feels organically developed, I guess is what I'm trying to say. All right, so let's take a look at, let's see. Here's some familiar scenes of Jean causing mass destruction on the city street. It looks like lightning bolts there, probably from Storm. I'm not sure. And there's Pietro. What's his name? Quicksilver. He's like running on pieces of shrapnel. That's pretty cool. And Jean is just, you know, just being Jean. And I'm trying to think. This looks interesting. Is this after or before she does what she does? That was one of the things that surprised me, that they really let the cat out of the bag about the situation for the funeral. Apparently, Mystique is going to be killed in this timeline by Jean. This is probably not surprising because Jennifer Lawrence hasn't really been keen on playing Mystique. I think, well, let's just say for the one past movie, because she spent an awful lot of time out of makeup and not looking like Mystique. And of course, this incarnation of Mystique, she's looking more and more human as each movie goes by. But I'm glad she's at least putting on the makeup for this movie again. And she said when she finished Apocalypse that she wasn't entirely enthusiastic about playing Mystique again, but she didn't want to not be asked, was the quote. So when, of course, the next movie rolled around, they did ask her if she wanted to be in it, and apparently she said yes as long as she gets killed off. That's kind of the Wrath of Khan type trick, you know what I mean? It's like, what would it take for us to bring you back, Leonard Nimoy? And he's like, well, if you kill me off, I'll come in for 2 weeks. We'll do the scene. It'll be good. I get a good heroic death, and it's over. And then of course in the case of Nimoy, he came in and was having so much fun, and the story was so good. He was like, why would I want to leave this? In the case of Jennifer Lawrence, I don't know if this is just an overture or, maybe she's going to come back again. Who knows? But apparently, this was what brought her back, that she was going to get a big death scene and get killed off. And of course, Jean crosses that line that cannot be crossed. And this kind of is what they did in the original, The Last Stand, where she killed not only Cyclops, but Professor X. So it's like Jean has to kill somebody from the X-Men in order for the feathers to fly. And the thing that's interesting about that is in the original comics, I don't believe she killed any of the X-Men. I think what happened was she killed an inhabited planet, which of course, is a bit worse on the scale of, and that's when Jim Shooter delivered the edict, where originally in the story, Claremont had Jean rescued and survived, and she had to be purged of the Phoenix and resumed life as an X-Man. But Jim Shooter said, no, no, you can't kill a planet full of people and have no consequences for that. So Claremont rewrote the ending so that Jean dies, and that's where we have what we have now. I kind of still feel bad that it's gonna kind of be a somber note to leave the X-Men franchise, because we're expecting that they're not gonna probably pick up, these same actors for the MCU versions of the X-Men. But honestly, you're gonna end, the Fox X-Men saga with, the death of Jean Grey and, possibly the, devastation of the X-Men. All right, I wanted to take a look at this here. I love that costume, the way the costumes they have now of the X-Men. It does at least look like the X-Men with these costumes. They've returned a little bit to the yellow because for some reason Bryan Singer hates yellow, and whenever he was in charge, all their costumes had to be black. Now, whenever he's not in charge, the costumes usually have a dash of yellow, which was nice. We've got James McAvoy looking very, you know, he's not with the suit and tie. He's a casual, looks like, but he looks to me and he sounds to me very much like Patrick Stewart in this trailer. I think he's become Patrick Stewart, and he's a good enough actor where he's, I'm gonna hate losing him most of all, especially because McAvoy is a great actor, and as I've said many times, he should have got the Academy Award for Days of Future Past. But especially when he says to a Cyclops, "I don't know what to do." It's very Stewart-esque. And I like that they seem to be having, a focus on the Scott and Professor X relationship. We didn't get that in the original series of movies beyond the first movie. We had the first movie where, we had a few scenes of them together, and you could see it was sort of like big brother, little brother, or, father son relationship between them, kind of. But never got a chance to see that again. It looks like we're going to see that in this movie, so I'm really looking forward to that. Uh, yeah, we're going over time here. Let's try to roll through some of these fast. Here's McAvoy as young Charles again. This is apparently when he first recruits Jean as a child in the School for the Gifted. And again, it's great whenever he plays Charles at different ages. You get a good sense of, he knows the character. It's a full formed character for him, for McAvoy. Let's see. What is this image? Oh, this is some destruction and debris. It kind of looks like the reason why I picked this image because it kind of looks like a lot like the ending of The Last Stand, and that's the only thing that gives me pause. But I think this trailer felt like it stepped away from The Last Stand a lot more than the previous trailer. The previous trailers kind of just felt like it was The Last Stand redone. This feels more like its own movie, but with gentle inspiration by The Last Stand. All right, let's take a look here. Okay, yeah, so we kind of got off the track there, but yeah, so Mystique is killed, and now we learn that Beast is now on the Brotherhood side, if that's what they're calling themselves. I'm not sure if that's even really what they're called in this film, but you can see him talking to Charles in that scene where he's kind of agitated against Charles. So obviously Beast is going to go over to the other side, which is again a pretty somber place to end it because Hank was the only one that was with Charles from the beginning. He's the only one that stayed throughout all the turbulence of the many years. Again, when is this one supposed to be set? In the 90s, I believe. Will this be the second film based on a comic book set in the 90s this year? We see, let's see, Jean torturing Magneto. He's always getting tortured, this poor guy. I seriously hope they're not going to have, well, I was going to say, Apocalypse, it felt like it was really contrived to put him in the movie that a loved one of his died, and that's why he's back on the warpath. Well, you're going to probably say the same thing about Mystique. I mean, when Mystique dies, he probably is going to go on the warpath too, and so we do kind of have our contrived entrance for Magneto in this film. But again, I love Fassbender as Magneto, and I really don't want to kick him to the curb, but it's like they have to really focus on how to get him in these movies because I felt like he was completely superfluous in Apocalypse. I think the only thing that was like, well, we got to get him as one of the Horsemen, and that's fine, but I don't know. I really didn't feel like he was organically brought into that film. All right, let's see. A few more images here. Let's see. This is probably after the Phoenix entity imbues Jean with its powers or whatever. Again, a very classic looking scene there. You know, it looks like a step right out of the comic. That's why I like this one a lot. This image. I didn't get a shot of Kurt, but of course, Nightcrawler's in this. We don't see a whole lot of him, which leads me to believe I don't know why. Like maybe they're not really focusing on him in this movie. I really want to see more of Kurt, and we didn't get a lot of him in this film. Hope he doesn't get killed. This is the spaceship again. Again, I love the costuming. Storm, we get to see Storm. She had a great line in this, kind of reminiscent of the Halle Berry Last Stand line, where she's like, Jean made her choice. If you're going to be with us, be with us. And in this trailer, again, I've seen it a couple of times, the trailer, but I can't remember word for word. But she basically says, you think you know somebody, and when the time comes, maybe you didn't know them at all. That wasn't the person you thought they were. Something to that effect. Anyhow, yeah, and again, Pietro there, pretty cool looking. Let's see. Again, I love this scene. I love this shot of Jean just looking so devious. Oh, she looks like she's bad news with the Phoenix power and energy. This is when she's torturing Magneto, I think. It appears that she's going to Magneto for help. And because we see in the other trailer, he acts like, he says, you don't, you're not here for asking for help. You're here asking for permission, because apparently she thinks she can get away with more under Magneto's watch, because he's obviously no friend of the humans and has, killed many of them in his time. But he doesn't, he sees through her basically. And it's going to be interesting to see. The interesting part is how she gets involved with him. That'll be cool. Now let's take a look at the end of the trailer. This is the the sort of the post tag here, where looks like they all got collars on, and they're captured by the army or something. This looks interesting. Let's see. I can't make out who that first guy is on the right. Well, on the left we could tell there's Kurt all the way inside. There's Scott. There's Charles. There's Storm. Is that Beast on the right side there? And of course, we can't really see the last guy. I don't think that's Beast. Anyhow, just yeah. So this is kind of also like The Last Stand, I guess, when you consider the prison truck where they got Juggernaut. They got Juggernaut out of his keeps my face pretty out of the convoy van, and they save Mystique. Yeah, this is interesting looking. I think this is probably something to do with Genosha, right? Is this what Genosha has to do something with the film? And like I said, they have collars on. Let's take a look at that, so that even the mighty Charles and Eric can't get their way out of this, which is interesting. He's not in a wheelchair, and I guess are they going to try to do that thing like they did with where his paralysis is somehow connected to his powers, like Days of Future Past, where he could walk when he took the formula that got rid of his powers. Again, it's like I don't really have a problem with some of this stuff. It's sort of pseudoscience that is just there to sort of facilitate the story. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. There's Magneto looking probably like he just got through with that scene. We've seen him getting the helmet, you know, bonded to his face. But yeah, I'm really gonna miss these guys if if Disney takes the Fox franchise and just completely reboots it. But again, this is kind of what they did with Spider-Man. And I was happy about it at the time because I think Tom Holland's a much better Spider-Man than Andrew Garfield. But honestly, what is the MCU gonna do with the X-Men now? I honestly don't know what their plans are, because, like I said, they ruined Spider-Man. I mean, he works pretty good as an Avenger, but just seeing what they're doing with him as a solo character just leaves me cold. And I can only imagine if they're going to bring the X-Men into it. Again, we're talking about the new MCU too. Is this going to be a complete screw up of, SJW platitudes and stuff? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So that's our whatever it was 10-minute look at the. I was going to say Last Stand, the Dark Phoenix trailer. A little bit of a sort of a mental reawakening of that image. But yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know in the comments below. Are you excited about the Dark Phoenix as I am? I'm actually looking forward to this movie. I think, as I've said before, a lot of people like to bash on Fox X-Men. They really haven't done that bad. They've got a good track record. X-Men 1 was great, particularly for the time and for the budget it had. It was really great. I think it was the most closest to the comic book or, to the cartoon incarnation as we could get, particularly in that time. X2, just a phenomenal movie, one of my top 10 favorites. X-Men 3: The Last Stand, I did not hate. I thought it was also very, it took chances when a lot of people wouldn't. Killing off major characters. I kind of wish they were a little more, free in bringing them back. Of course, they did sort of retcon it and bring back some of those characters, Professor X. First Class, again, I think it's overrated, but it was still a good movie. Established McAvoy and Fassbender as the new Charles and Eric. Days of Future Past, again, I would say one of my all-time favorites. Apocalypse, again, it was sort of a stall. It was not bad in as much as it was not particularly entertaining. It was just sort of like a detour. You got the three Wolverine films to various degrees of success and failure. I don't hate any of them really. I think Origins is not bad. I think Origins is good. The Wolverine was pretty good. Logan was not my cup of tea, but it still wasn't terrible. Deadpool I didn't like. I want to see the second one, Once Upon a Deadpool, because that's it's just that kind of level of vulgarity is not to my liking. But still, people like it. So what I'm trying to say is basically you only have about 3 or 4 movies that underperformed in a franchise that has like what 15? How many movies? I think there was 17 movies altogether if you count the Deadpool and Wolverine franchises. I don't know. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. And thank you once again for joining me here on the only way to spend your Saturday here at Johnny Torch Live, the Johnny Torch Live broadcast, Torch News Roundup number 126, our 140th live broadcast this Saturday evening. And of course, hit that like button. It really would do me just the greatest solid if you could give me some likes. I haven't had likes in a long time in these videos because these live shows, it's very difficult to get likes on live shows, at least for me. And you want to hit that subscribe button. We got another new subscriber, and I'm very excited whenever we get a new subscriber. That means someone like what they've seen enough to actually want to come back and see what we're doing. And if you're a new subscriber, leave a comment and say hi. And I always read all my comments on a mailbag, edition of the news roundup whenever we get 3 or 4 um, comments together that we put a mailbag segment together. Once again, check out my links in the descriptions below for my Twitter page. You can vote in the poll of the week question. You can also check out the Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye. And check out the link there to the Indie Planet website where my books are listed. You can pick up the digital downloads. I remind a lot of people because they're not advertised very well on Indie Planet, but I did put many of my issues up as 99-cent digital downloads. For less than $1, you could read a whole comic. You can't find a deal like that really anywhere else these days because price of comics are really, it's ridiculous. And I don't think a comic should cost more than $1. And if it was financially feasible for me, I would give out, hard copies for $1. But unfortunately, that's not the financial reality of the situation I find myself in as a comic book producer. But I can do digital downloads for $1. So they range from $1.50 to $1. So you're going to get your comics from me anyway for less than $2. That's my guarantee. I am never going to, unless it's a graphic novel, because I'm working on a collection. I'm working on a collection for the 3-issue story arc that we're on now, which is called When the Night Comes. And I want to get those 3 issues together in graphic novel form. And that's obviously going to cost, between 10 and 20 bucks, probably something like that. But that's a little bit further in the future. Probably by the end of the year, we'll start talking about that. Right now, we're trying to get issue 7 out. Um, excuse me, issue 6. I do have some preliminary inking I've done on issue 7. That's probably what I was thinking of. All right, but hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and we will see you next week here on the only way to spend your Saturday here at our regularly scheduled time on the Johnny Torch Live broadcast. This is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.